What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mike Tagliere, here for week 10. Week 10, double digits, guys. We made it this far. We're going to make it all the way to week 16 and get you guys through to those fantasy championships. So thank you guys, as always, for joining me for another Sunday morning to talk about some start-sit decisions, whatever you guys want to talk about, trades, whatever. I don't really care. I'm just here to answer questions for you guys. Thank you, as always, for showing up. You know, you guys always do, and that's why I'm always here. The beard is still here. I'm pretty sure that the wife is going to shave it in my sleep one of these days because I don't think she likes it very much, but it's here. As we always do at the start of the show, guys, I'm going to run through the injuries. I'll let you guys know because there's a lot of people that can't pay attention throughout the week and you may have missed something. So I just want to run through these real quick and then we're going to get to as many questions as we can. So let me start by saying Christian McCaffrey's out. Mike Davis is going to start in his place. Chris Carson is out. Before people think that DJ Dallas is a must start, I want you guys to understand that Travis Homer actually played more snaps than he did last week. It's a timeshare with him and Travis Homer. So it's not like you must play him. I'm sure we're going to have some questions about him. Joe Mixon going to be out. Giovanni Bernard will start in his place. Kenny Golladay is out for another week. David Montgomery and David Johnson are both ruled out with concussions. David Johnson was actually placed on IR. He's going to be out for 3 weeks. So bad symptoms after his concussion, apparently. So not good times for him. Raheem Mostert, going to take at least another week for him to get back in the lineup. They left him on IR. Deebo Samuel, not going to play this week. Justin Jackson, another guy, went on IR, out 3 weeks. Devonta Freeman, another guy on IR, out 3 weeks, which means that you're going to see, that Chargers backfield, Kalen Ballage, Joshua Kelly, Troymaine Pope comes back this week. It's a mess. It really is. So there's hardly anything guaranteed there. Devonta Freeman with him out. Wayne Gallman continues to take that workhorse role. Allen Lazard was not activated. He's not going to play. And Laviska Shenault is out. As for the guys that are questionable, Matt Breida is not expected to play. I don't know if they've officially ruled him out yet, but he's not expected to play. Damian Harris, Mark Ingram, and Kenyon Drake are all expected to play. Now, Kenyon Drake's an interesting one because there's going to be people with question marks about him, but I want you to understand that it's a little bit of a risk starting someone like him coming off a multi-week injury. There's always a chance that he re-aggravates it. I still prefer Chase Edmonds over Kenyon Drake this week, so again, there's probably going to be questions about all these players, but I wanted to get out in front of that before we get into this so you guys understand my thought process. There are also some win games that you guys need to be aware of. The biggest one that's affecting the rankings is Houston at Cleveland. There are 30-plus mile-an-hour winds with like 50, 60 mile-an-hour wind gusts. It's pretty crazy. They've actually put out a major wind advisory out there, so it's not good. In Green Bay, they've experienced some snow and rain this morning. They're expecting 25 mile-an-hour winds in that game with gusts up to 40 miles an hour. That's not great. And then you have the Steelers game, which could be affected by a little bit of wind. They're expecting 20 to 25 mile-an-hour winds. That one's not too bad. I don't want to move players too far in that game, but I think you guys should all know about it. But the biggest one is Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, guys like that dropping down in the rankings because they're obviously, especially like someone like Will Fuller, he's typically targeted down the field a whole lot. The wind is not going to help. Even Deshaun Watson, for that matter, I've lowered him in my rankings quite a bit, as well as Baker Mayfield. So let's go ahead and get into these questions, guys. I'm going to answer as many as I can for a full hour. And Yates is out today, so Dan Harris is going to be a man and step in and fill that role. He's actually going to be taking over right after me. He already did an Instagram Live for an hour. He's going to answer questions an hour after me. So kudos to Dan. He's doing a phenomenal job, and I know it's not easy to talk as much as he's going to have to today. And then we're going to talk later. If you guys don't ever see that, or if you guys ever hear it, Dan and I do a recap show on Sunday nights. So if you guys haven't yet, do me a favor, click the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Because again, we do this stuff every week. We're trying to add more and more content to the video side. And the more support we have, the more we're going to do. So let's start with Daniel. Full PPR, Chase Claypool or Chris Godwin. I have Claypool a little bit higher. We just don't know the target share and what it's going to be for these Tampa Bay Bucks with Antonio Brown in the mix. Against Carolina, Carolina's actually been very, very, very good against the pass. I don't think many people realize that. Godwin probably has the best matchup in the slot, but at the same time, he could end up in that game with like 5 targets. I don't know if the Bucks need to throw the ball a whole lot. I anticipate the running backs getting a whole lot of touches. In the first game against the Panthers, we saw Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette rack up, over 125 yards rushing and I think 3 rushing touchdowns against Carolina. So they're shaking up the offensive line. We don't know how that's going to play into it. So I'll probably just go Chase Claypool. The floor is probably pretty similar, and I think Claypool probably has a higher ceiling considering the matchups that they're in. Diamond Fox, full PPR, Marvin Jones or Danny Amendola. I'll go Marvin Jones, higher touchdown probability. It's a terrible matchup against Washington for both receivers. Washington has been fantastic, and if you look at it from like a point per target, Washington right now has allowed the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. I don't think anybody realizes that they're allowing just 1.60 PPR points per target. Now that ranks as the fourth lowest, but typically their games are very low volume, and you're not seeing wide receivers targeted a whole lot against that Ron Rivera scheme. Like, they're doing a very, very good job in Washington, and it's a borderline elite defense. They've only allowed 3 wide receiver touchdowns all year, so I'm not particularly high on either of those receivers, Marvin Jones or Danny Amendola, but Jones is clearly the one who's got a higher probability of a touchdown, and that's what I'll take there. Let's see, BB, sit 1, half PPR, chart. All right, so guys, I'm going to answer this one because I didn't announce it. So guys, if you do not narrow your question down to 2 or 3 players, I'm going to skip over it, and I'm sorry about that, but it's just because I want to get to as many questions as possible. So narrow it down. I don't want to set your entire lineup, believe me. All right, so let's see. Now where'd that question go? I think I lost it, actually. No, Chark, Deante, Juju, or Edmonds. You have to sit one of those guys. Chark in that Green Bay game, there are wins. Jake Luton's under center. He locked onto Chark a little bit with Chenault out. I expect his targets to be there, but I just don't know how efficient the pass game is going to be. Deante Johnson's been getting double-digit targets pretty much every start he gets against the Bengals, they're already down one of their starting cornerbacks this week, so it's a good matchup for him and Claypool. I like Deante. Juju in the slot. Mackenzie Alexander hasn't been the same player he was in Minnesota for the Bengals, so they're all in decent matchups. It's really tough to say which one I guess I'll sit Edmonds with Drake back. I guess that's where I'd have to go. Hannah asks, half PPR, J.K. Dobbins or DJ Dallas. I feel gross about it too. Yeah, you should. With the 3 running backs available for the Ravens in this game, J.K. Dobbins is a guy that you're basically, it's a big player bust. That's basically what it comes down to with him, and that's why I have him lower in my rankings than everybody else does. New England is not a particular, they're not a terrible matchup for wide receivers or running backs, but again, those games produce so little volume. They're expecting some rain in that game tonight. I don't know. That it's really a mess. I don't like Dobbins when all 3 are available because they haven't really given him that bigger role that we were expecting as the year went on. So I'd probably go DJ Dallas there. Dallas is sharing snaps with Travis Homer, but he has been getting the valuable touches, and that's expected to be a high-scoring game. So I'll go DJ Dallas. Will asks, must sit 1, Mike Evans, John Brown, Christian Kirk. All right, I got to skip over that. I'm sorry, Will. Let's see. Carlos asks, PPR, Beasley, Marquise Brown, or Jalen Reagor. I'll go with Marquise Brown. This is something I don't think anybody realizes, that the New England Patriots are allowing 9.97 yards per target to wide receivers. So that is the most in the NFL. Not even kidding. There's actually only one other team that's allowing more than 9.5 yards per target, and that's the New Orleans Saints, who really got off to a bad start with wide receivers. But the lack of plays is definitely a concern for the Ravens offense and Marquise Brown for that matter. But the Marquise Brown, the boom potential that you get with Marquise Brown, I just feel like it's too much. Beasley in a PPR format, that's supposed to be a higher scoring game, but Beasley's almost been phasing out. They've been using Gabriel Davis a little bit. John Brown's healthy. Stephon Diggs is obviously healthy. I'm a little worried about Beasley's just more of a high floor option, and I would sacrifice that floor in order to get the ceiling with Marquise Brown. Jalen Reagor I do like a little bit this week, but I want to, it's almost like we've only seen a small sample size, right? So we can't go all in on him. I like him as a wide receiver 4, but I'll probably go Marquise Brown. Jake asked, flex Hunter Henry or Phillip Lindsay. I'd go Phillip Lindsay here. Hunter Henry, I'm going to pull up my stats on him because Hunter Henry has been pretty bad, honestly, ever since Herbert took over, and it's just really odd because Herbert's been so good. Ever since Herbert took over, since the start of week 4, actually, yeah, let's just go to the start of week 4, Henry ranks 21st in tight ends among tight ends in fantasy scoring. He has seen the 10th most targets, so it's not volume concern. He's not, I don't think he's topped like 40 yards in like 5 weeks. And then you look at this matchup that they have against the Dolphins. There are just 4 teams who have allowed fewer than 300 yards to tight ends this season. They're the only team in the NFL. They're one of those teams, but they're also one of the only teams who have yet to allow a tight end finish with double-digit PPR points. No tight end has scored double-digit PPR points against them, and that includes George Kittle, George Kittle, I mean, obviously, there was also 7 targets to Gerald Everett and Greg Olsen. Neither of those guys was able to get there. So I don't like Hunter Henry very much this week. I have him ranked as tight end 9 just because he is getting targets, but I don't like him. I would rather play someone like Phillip Lindsay, who is in a good matchup against Las Vegas. You just don't know how many carries he's going to get because that's turning into a messy timeshare. Let's see. Start Watson with the weather or pick up Teddy B, Wentz, Carr, or Lock. I have Wentz ranked higher than Watson right now. He's the only one of that bunch that I would play. So Watson is a guy that I would expect him to use his legs a little bit more in this game. That's the only thing that's going to keep his floor up there. And I've moved him down in my rankings to, I think, quarterback 10. But Carson Wentz is somebody I think I have at number 9. So I have Wentz slightly higher. So I would probably do Wentz. Let's see. Lewis, this is the Louis Tremblay. This might be the worst question I've ever had to answer, but I'll give you an answer. DJ Dallas, Ryan Nall, or Kalen Ballage. Pick one. Like, think about that. That's where we're at in 2020. It sucks. DJ Dallas is where I'd go. Ryan Nall, Lamar Miller is expected to be called up from the practice squad apparently. Cordarrelle Patterson is the next guy up on the depth chart, so Nall might get 5 to 10 touches, but it's Ryan Nall. The Vikings are also not particularly prone to give up a lot of rushing production. Kalen Ballage, we don't know. With Troy Maine Pope back in the lineup, Joshua Kelly, they obviously spent the pick on him. I mean, Ballage is the one I have ranked the highest of those running backs, but I don't feel great about it. So I'll go DJ Dallas. Andres, should I get Eckler per Godwin? Should I get Eckler for Godwin? Or I'm so confused by this question. Should you trade Godwin for Eckler? I think that's what you're asking. I'm not positive. I mean, if you have a wide receiver to fill that spot, why not? Eckler's saying that he's getting close to returning, and he would clearly be the number 1 running back in this offense. So Shelby, half PPR, Terry McLaurin, Chase Edmonds, or Giovanni Bernard. I'd go McLaurin. I think Terry McLaurin's fantastic, and I don't think there's any reason to start doubting him now. With Alex Smith, because Alex Smith is a quarterback that can support fantasy relevant options. I don't know why it would be considered a downgrade to go from Kyle Allen to Alex Smith. I don't. So I'll play Terry McLaurin. Let's see. Scrolling down here, getting to the next set of questions. All right. Buffed up Watson or Tua. I still have Watson higher than Tua. Just because, again, I do expect Deshaun Watson to rack up some rushing totals in this game and keep his floor afloat. Tua is just running out of options, right? Like, you have to figure, like, he hasn't connected with Mckissick the way that we had hoped. Devontae Parker is a good receiver, but he's also going to be covered by Casey Hayward this week, so it's a tough matchup for him. So I'm not really high on Tua this week. I mean, I think I have him at quarterback 15 or something like that, but I'll still go Watson. J47, J.K. Dobbins or Jamal Williams, half PPR. Not great choices, but D-Mont kind of screwed me this week. Yeah, I hear you. A lot of guys are starting worse guys than you have here. I like Jamal Williams over J.K. Dobbins. So the Jaguars in their games they played this year, they've allowed 30 running back touches per game. So let's pretend that Aaron Jones gets 18 touches. That's plenty for Aaron Jones, right? 12 are still available, and that's just in a regular game script. If we're projecting this to be, a positive game script for the Packers, the Jags to fall behind early, it's a win game, and you start factoring in all these things, and you look at it and you say, the Packers running back should touch the ball 35 times in this game. So again, once you start breaking that down and figuring out where those touches are going to go, Jamal Williams is in line for, I'd say it's safe to say that he's going to get 10 to 12 touches, possible even more. So I do like Jamal Williams this week better than J.K. Dobbins. Ethan asked, full PPR pick 2, Chark, Tyler Boyd, or Antonio Gibson. So Antonio Gibson's going to be one of them for sure, just because of the guaranteed touches. I'll take those. Great matchup against Detroit. I have Antonio Gibson ranked as a top 13 running back, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even top 12 with all the injuries that have happened. And then DJ Chark or Tyler Boyd. I'll probably go with Tyler Boyd just because of the wind there in Green Bay. I don't know. Jake Luton, it's not like we can pretend he's a great quarterback. Unfortunately, he doesn't get to play Houston every single week. Now, Green Bay is without their top cornerback, J.R. Alexander. But again, if there's 30-mile-an-hour winds, 25, 30-mile-an-hour winds is what they're expecting in Green Bay. I don't know if that. I think it means that Chark has to get it done continually, and I just don't know if Luton can do that just yet. I still have him ranked as like a borderline top 20 guy, but I'd go Tyler Boyd. I think the matchup against the Steelers is probably the best in the slot against Mike Hilton, who may not play this game. But either way, I'd go Tyler Boyd. All right, Damon, Mike Williams, T. Higgins, or David Moore. Of those three, let's see. I would go T. Higgins of that bunch. Mike Williams, Miami's really tough on the perimeter. So Keenan Allen at least goes into the slot about 50% of the time. So he'll evade those guys. But Xavier Howard has been fantastic. He shut down DeAndre Hopkins last week. And then you have Byron Jones on the other side. Williams could always come down with a touchdown, sure, but I don't think I want to bet on it against Miami. So I will go with T. Higgins here. The matchup against Pittsburgh is not great. I won't say it's great, but it's not as bad as people think. Pittsburgh hasn't been a shutdown defense against wide receivers this year. They have allowed the 12th most fantasy points to them. So it's not like a matchup you have to avoid. Let's see, Thomas McDonald, Allen Robinson or Deante Johnson. I'll play Allen Robinson against that Minnesota secondary that's just been decimated by injuries. And I mean, the Bears are going to pass the ball a lot in that game. All right. Oliver asks, Chark, Drake, or Edmonds, full PPR. That one's really tough. I mean, if weather wasn't a concern, I'd probably go with Chark, but being that it is a concern, I'll probably go with Chase Edmonds. I moved Chase Edmonds down once Kenyon Drake was activated, obviously, but I think I still have him at RB16, so I'm not like fully off Edmonds. I think he's an RB2 play, particularly in a full PPR game or full PPR league where receptions have always been there for him. He's the passing down back, even if Drake is back. So I'll go Edmonds there. Jesus Santizo, T. Higgins or Jacoby Myers PPR. I'm gonna go T. Higgins. I don't want to play a wide receiver that has Cam Newton throwing them the ball against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens they're good. Marlon Humphrey's back with the team. He's off the COVID list. So yeah, it goes back to a matchup that's just not great. Honestly, the best matchup that they have So the Patriots, if they align the same way they have the last few weeks, Demir Bird is someone who has a good matchup on the perimeter because Jimmy Smith is out. So Demir Bird is someone like in showdown slates or DFS if you want to take a shot in that. But I play T. Higgins over him. Let's see. Dan S. Pick 2 full PPR. Jermaine Pope, Gus Edwards, Jared Cook. Wow. Yeah, Gus Edwards, I mean, he's going to go back to that role that, 7-8 carries. He doesn't get it targeted, so I don't really want to play him. So I'll take my chances with Pope and Cook just because I don't see the ceiling with Gus Edwards there, and you don't really get a floor. Fernando asks, half PPR, choose one, Jerick McKinnon, J.D. McKissick, or T. Higgins. This one's close. I want to say McKissick, but I think my rankings have Jerick McKinnon slightly higher, and it's just because he's projected to be the number 1 back, whereas J.D. McKissick is more the number 2 behind Antonio Gibson, and he needs a game script. He needs Washington to somewhat fall behind if he's going to see a whole lot of work, I would think. So I guess it's McKinnon, but I don't feel great about it. I think McKissick might actually offer a higher ceiling. It's just a little bit more game script dependent. Joshua asked, half PPR, Fuller or Kirk? I've moved Fuller down considerably. I think I had him up at wide receiver 14 to start the week. I've moved him down to wide receiver 23, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, wide receiver 23 is where I have him right now. So I've lowered him for sure, but I still think that he's the guy that leads this team in targets. We can't pretend that they're not going to pass at all. So I'm going to go with Fuller over Christian Kirk. I might regret that, but I lowered Fuller just not as much as maybe some people think I should. DW asked Deante Johnson or Devontae Parker, half PPR. I would go Deante Johnson. Both of these guys should be locked into, I'd say, 7+ targets in their games, but one of them has a better matchup than the other. Deante Johnson against Cincinnati, or Devontae Parker against Casey Hayward. He's the one good cornerback that they really have on that team right now with Chris Harris Jr. Hurt, and then them trading away Desmond King. So there's other areas they should exploit on that defense. So I'd say Deante Johnson I'd go with. Let's see, Chase Edmonds or Juju Smith-Schuster. It's so tough. That's really tough. Honestly, they're very close. It's kind of like a coin flip. Who would I play personally? I'd probably play Chase Edmonds. To be honest, that's expected to be a high-scoring game, and maybe we just move off of Roethlisberger in that passing game a little bit just because of the wind and the fact that he wasn't removed off the COVID list until just a couple days ago. Dan asked, PPR flex Gollum? I don't know the question, Dan. I'm sorry. I don't know who Gollum is. I'm trying to think of it. It may have been an autocorrect thing. I'm sorry. John Olds asked, Daryl Henderson or Juju Smith-Schuster? I'd play Juju, I think, in that one. Juju, I was torn between Edmonds and Juju, but Henderson I have a little bit lower than Edmonds because Seattle has actually been one of the better run defenses in the NFL. And the way that you do score fantasy points against them is you do it through the air with running backs. And we just haven't seen Daryl Henderson involved in the passing game a whole lot. So I'll go with Juju in that one. Ches, Drez, half PPR, Eric Ebron or Dallas Goddard. I have Dallas Goddard ranked higher. I have Goddard as like a top 4 tight end this week. I do like Ebron. He's actually, I think I've ranked as my tight end 6 or tight end 7, but just not as much as Goddard because, again, I don't have to worry about the Eagles. I don't have to worry about game script because this team throws in positive game scripts for the Eagles. They throw the second most percentage-wise in the NFL, so they're still throwing the ball. Goddard, we know that team funnels targets to the tight end position. They do. So the last time that the Giants played the Eagles, we saw it was Richard Rodgers rack up 7 catches for 85 yards against them. So Goddard's going to kind of fill that role. Let's see. Matt asks, good morning. Zach Moss or Jalen Reagor, 1 point PPR. If you're searching for a floor, I'd say it's Moss. If you're looking for a massive ceiling, let's say that you played against Nyheim Hines or something like that, and you're like in a big hole because of it, I might go with Jalen Reagor. Reagor probably has a higher ceiling in a PPR format than Moss, but Moss is going to get those guaranteed touches, and he gets a lot of, I'll say half the goal line carries with Josh Allen. But he's not too involved in the passing game, which worries me in a PPR for his ceiling. Nassim asked Deante Johnson or Mike Evans. I have Deante Johnson slightly higher. I know Mike Evans did well against the Panthers last time they played, but Chris Godwin wasn't on the team, or he wasn't on the field at that point. Rob Gronkowski wasn't Rob Gronkowski. Like he was like basically just getting into shape. And then Antonio Brown wasn't on the team. So Mike Evans, the target totals, they're not going to be what they were back in that game where I think he saw like 11 targets. So that they won't be there. I worry about that. So I will go Deante Johnson. Adrian, T. Higgins or DJ Moore. I have DJ Moore higher. I'm not as worried about DJ. So I am worried about DJ Moore, and I was lower on him than most people coming into this week. But this week I'm not as worried because they're not running the ball in Tampa Bay. You're not running the ball on them. You know, Mike Davis is going to rack up some receptions. That's cool. But DJ Moore, there's a reason that the last time these two teams played, DJ Moore caught 8 passes for 120 yards because they're not going to. You just can't run the ball on them. So they are going to go through the air a little bit more. I think the target floor is going to be up for DJ Moore. I would say I'd block him in for 6+ targets, maybe 8 in this game. So I like DJ Moore. Let's see. Santiago asked, hey, Mike, start Gio over any of the Cardinals running backs? No, I mean, Giovanni Bernard, he is the clear-cut number 1, but against the Steelers, it's a brutal matchup. I mean, the Steelers have been so damn good against running backs dating back to last year. I mean, they're one of those matchups you just do not want to see for running backs. And I know Gio has done well filling in for Mixon, but I think I would still go with because I'm torn because I just don't know how much Drake is going to actually factor into the game plan. I'm pulling up my rankings so I could see how close they are. I have Bernard at RB19. I have Edmonds, let's see, RB15. So, yeah, I guess it's Edmonds. I mean, I don't know. That one's super tough, but that's where I lean right now is Edmonds. Casey S., should I be worried about Desmond shadowing Terry? Oh, Desmond Trufant? No, I'm not worried about Desmond Trufant. No, I'm not. And I know that Trufant did some shadowing last week, but I don't care. Like, I've watched Desmond Trufant enough to know that he's not a shadow cornerback. He's not. No, Terry McLaurin's a better player. Daniel asked Jalen Reagor or Curtis Samuel half PPR. I guess you kind of got to ride the hot hand with Samuel right now. But I'm not as high on Samuel as the industry is this week. But he is getting basically just as many, if not more, opportunities than DJ Moore right now. And if I like DJ Moore, it's like, okay. But Curtis Samuel is almost an extension of the ground game, right? Where you almost just want to use him in that, like I don't know. They're using him in that short passing game like they would a running back. They're not targeting him down the field like it was last year. He was miscast in that role last year. They're using him how he's supposed to be used now, so they're manufacturing touches for him. I think you kind of have to ride that out. I like Reagor, but I don't think as much as Samuel, though. All right, let's see. Dan, good morning. Full PPR, Mike Gesicki or Jared Cook. I kind of want to say Gesicki, but we just haven't seen it with Tua yet. So I have Jared Cook slightly higher in the rankings because, again, you go back to the Saints and you're like, all right, how are they going to attack this team? By the way, I love Michael Thomas this week for like DFS purposes. So many people are down on Michael Thomas. I don't know why. But you don't run the ball in San Francisco. Like we saw like last week, Aaron Jones looked really, really good, but he didn't finish with a whole lot against them because they're still a good run defense. But in the secondary is where they're getting beat up. So I guess I'll go with Jared Cook just because better quarterback play. We've seen him produce with Drew Brees. Sorry, I think I have like a hair right here or something. I don't know. Start 2.5 PPR, Allen Robinson, Giovanni Bernard, DJ Chark. So Allen Robinson's definitely one. And then the other one between Gio and Chark, I guess take the guaranteed touches with Giovanni Bernard. Again, DJ Chark dealing with that weather situation, backup quarterback. There are some reasons to like Chark, but at the same time, I'll take the safe play in Gio. All right, let's see here. Rolling down. All right, Ryan Mulholland, good morning. Pick 2. Gordon, Bernard, Drake. Okay, I'm sorry, Ryan. I have to skip over it. Kyle Samples asks Tyler Boyd, Robbie Anderson, or Christian Kirk. 1 wide receiver and 1 flex. Let's see. Tyler Boyd and Robbie Anderson would be my 2 choices. Those would be the ones. I have Robbie Anderson, I think, wide receiver 14. I have Boyd around wide receiver 17. So I would go with those 2 guys over Christian Kirk. Kirk is not a bad play at all, but I'm a little bit more hesitant because obviously last week, we saw DeAndre Hopkins basically gets shut out, and that led to a bigger performance for Kirk. Does that happen again? I don't know. Danny asked full PPR flex, Chase Edmonds, Deante Johnson, or Boyd. Oh. In a full PPR, I kind of want to say Boyd here with Drake back in the lineup, and I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to go Boyd there. Parker Stone, Jared Goff, or Lamar Jackson. I have Lamar Jackson slightly higher than Goff. I like Goff this week, I really do, but I can't pretend that there's different scenarios where Goff, if he's off throwing the ball, he has no mobility. The offensive line isn't great. I know Seattle's pass rush isn't great. I do like Goff this week. I really do. And he needs to show up off their bye week. I believe Sean McVay understands matchups. I think he knows how to exploit teams' weaknesses. And I expect him to do that against Seattle. So I like Goff, but Lamar Jackson's floor is just too high. And the matchup against New England has not been bad. Like, that's the thing is, like, when teams go back to pass against the Patriots, they're allowing a league-high 8.81 yards per attempt. No other team is over 8.49. Like, that's the Jaguars. 8.49 is where they're at. 8.81. The lack of plays is the concerning part, but Lamar Jackson can rush for yards too. If you look at the matchup they had last year, he did rush for some yards. So I'll take Lamar Jackson's floor. If you're looking for a massive ceiling, I guess maybe Goff, but just understand that you're sacrificing a pretty high floor. Wyatt asks, full PPR, Terry McLaurin of Fulgham at flex. I'd play Terry McLaurin. I like Fulgham. I think he's perfectly fine, but I think it's also possible that we see James Bradbury shadow him a little bit, and that's why, it wasn't a bad game at all in their first meeting. I think he had like 73 yards, but it was one of his lesser performances this year since coming into the starting lineup. Let's see. The GOAT, Jacob, full PPR. Do I start Will Fuller or Adam Thielen? I'll go with Thielen. I'm not particularly high on the Vikings wide receivers because the Bears have been so damn good. And that's one of those things. Like, I don't understand the Justin Jefferson love this week. I don't know. The Bears have allowed just 5 wide receivers to top 58 yards. They've allowed 1 wide receiver to finish better than wide receiver 23. It feels weird. I don't get it. But I'd still play Thielen because you don't have to worry about the win that you do with Fuller. Fuller's a guy that's his average depth of target is down the field quite a bit, and he makes a lot of splash plays that support his fantasy day. Touchdowns have carried him a little bit. His yardage has been a little bit up and down. So I just don't think that we can rely on him as much this week. So I'll go Thielen. I don't love either of them though. Brian asked Chark or Kirk, full point PPR. I'll go DJ Chark. Kirk I have right around. I might be a little too low on someone like Christian Kirk this week, just because it's like I'm expecting to even out a little bit with DeAndre Hopkins, but I have Kirk at wide receiver 30. I might be a little bit too low. I might change that as now that I'm talking about it, but I still would go Chark over him. Now, I'm not going to raise him over Chark. Full PPR flex, Antonio Gibson or Christian Kirk. I would go Antonio Gibson. That matchup against Detroit is just fantastic. I'd say it's definitely a top 3 matchup in the NFL for a running back. Green Bay, Houston are up there, but yeah, that's a really, really good matchup against Detroit. Let's see. Higgins or Jamal Williams, flex PPR. I might go with Jamal Williams actually there. In a PPR format, he should catch a few passes. I expect the Green Bay running backs to be involved there. I don't expect them to air it out. So yeah, I'll go with Jamal Williams. Eric Neville asked standard Deante Johnson or Travis Fulgham. That one's so close. I've kind of gone back and forth in that territory right now, and I just pulled it up. I have Deante Johnson as my wide receiver 17. I have Fulgham at wide receiver 18. So if it go, you can't really, I don't think you can make a bad decision in that one. I really don't. Hamish, Adam Thielen, Robbie Anderson, or Duke, half PPR, need upside. I go Robbie Anderson. Again, Carolina will not run the ball on Tampa Bay. You just don't do it. That team is allowing, I will tell you the actual numbers, 2.92 yards per carry on the ground. They've allowed 89 fantasy points on the ground. That's it. That's all they've allowed on the ground. 2.92 yards per carry. They've allowed 7 rushing touchdowns, which is crazy. But yeah, they're not going to run the ball. So Robbie Anderson should be very, very involved. All right, strolling down, working my way through these questions. Thank you guys, as always, for being with us here at the halfway points. Over 6,000 of you beautiful people in here. If you guys haven't, please just really do me a favor. Click the like button. It does really help me out. It also helps out the channel if you subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? We're trying to do more for you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And again, we're only at the halfway point. I got another half hour to do. And then again, even when I'm done, Dan Harris is going to be taking over. So let's see. Michael Lewis, Devontae Parker or Brady in flex. So you could start a quarterback so it's a super flex league. You're playing Tom Brady. You almost always play quarterbacks in those super flex spots. Noah, AB, or Mike Williams PPR. I have Mike Williams slightly higher. Just because there's a lot of risk with Antonio Brown. Now, Antonio Brown's the type of wide receiver that if they decide to target him a whole bunch, he can go off. But I just don't know if it's there. Mike Williams has been playing pretty good. He's been getting targets, and Miami secondary is good. I've talked about that a little bit on the show today. But they're in the same range. I think I have Mike Williams at wide receiver 32. I think I have Antonio Brown at wide receiver 34. So they're kind of risky wide receiver 3 plays. I'd say Mike Williams has a safer role, I guess, whereas Antonio Brown might have a higher ceiling. Thomas Jury, good morning. Half PPR, McKissick or DJ Dallas in Seattle? That one's really tough because you said half PPR. Oh man, that's one super tough. I'm just gonna go to my rankings because I don't feel confident in my answer. So I'm just like, this is like removing all emotion out of it, and like, who do I have ranked higher? Let's see. I have McKissick at 24. I have DJ Dallas at 25 and half PPR. So there you go. I guess it's McKissick. Go Bucks. T. Higgins, Mike Williams, or Kirk in a full PPR. That one's super close between T. Higgins and Kirk for me. I might go Kirk. That's why I said, so in my rankings, it might be like right next to each other right now, but I talked to you guys as I've been talking through this. This show sometimes helps me talk through players and find out, okay, maybe I'm a little too low on Christian Kirk, because Kirk, I have him right around that same range as T. Higgins, as Justin Jefferson. But Kirk, again, that's supposed to be a high-scoring game. Tre'Davious White hasn't been the same cornerback, so I don't expect DeAndre Hopkins to get shut out. But that does leave Kirk with a good matchup, so maybe I'll go Kirk there. Chandler asked pick 2, DJ Chark, Brandon Cooks, or Chris Godwin. Let's remove Wind out of the equation here with Brandon Cooks and just get rid of him. He has seen 9 targets, I think, in 4 straight games now, which is something I was chasing. I had him as a top 24 wide receiver this week, but I've definitely lowered him down into around the wide receiver 30 to 35 range with this Wind. So DJ Chark and Chris Godwin would be my choices there. Blair, full PPR start 2. Boyd, Fulgham, Thielen. Thanks. All right. Whew. In a full PPR. This is tough, right? Because Thielen, it almost feels like you should be playing him, right? And this is where I've been stuck. And this is why, like, I do a buy, sell, hold thing every single week. And Adam Thielen was someone I mentioned a couple weeks ago as a sell. And I said to sell him because the perceived value on him was a wide receiver 1. He's had wide receiver 1 performances, but this is an offense. They're averaging just 29 pass attempts per game. Or 26. 26, 28. I'm forgetting the damn number. I'm going to look it up now. Hold on. I like, bear with me for 1 second. I just need to look it up. They are averaging, where is it at? 26.1 pass attempts per game. So I was right in 26. 26 pass attempts per game. That's awful. Like, even if he's getting a 25% target share, that's like 6.5 targets per game. The 25% target share is pretty big in the NFL. So but it feels weird to say you want to sit him, right? Fulgham, he's been seeing a lot of targets, right? Like, he's been one of the better wide receivers in football, so why is he so low in the rankings? I don't know. Tyler Boyd, again, the matchup against Pittsburgh is not as bad as people think, and in the slot, it's been the best. So I actually want to bench Thielen in that one. I think I'm just going to tell you to bench Thielen, which sounds really weird, but that's where I'm at. Elia, standard flex, Leonard Fournette or Brandon Ayuk. Whew. I'll go with the guaranteed touches from Fournette. In terms of like weighted opportunity, and what teams have faced, the Carolina Panthers have faced more weighted opportunity to running backs than any other team in the league. And again, when you go back to that week 2 matchup where the Bucs against the Panthers, we saw Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette combine for like 130 something rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Leonard Fournette had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns of that himself. And now he's involved in the passing game. So I think I'll take the guaranteed touches. Ayuk, I do like a little bit though. That game's in a dome, the negative game script. You should see plenty of targets for him with Deebo Samuel out, George Kittle out. But New Orleans did look good last week. Did they turn things around? We thought New Orleans was going to be an elite defense coming into the season. They weren't. Have they changed things around? It's tough to say, but they look better. Ahmad, Jared Goff or Justin Herbert? This one is so damn tough. All right, so I have Herbert. I'm just going to tell you, I have Herbert ranked slightly higher, but I really would have difficulty if this were my lineup choosing. Miami's been a really good defense as of late. Like, that team has like just turned things around and they're playing a lot better. But Herbert has been playing so damn good that I don't know if you can bench him. I just don't think you can. Whereas Jared Goff, the matchup is just whoo. Honestly, I usually don't like Jared Goff at all. I'm usually lower than the consensus, but this week I'm higher. So this one, it's tough for me to say, but I guess I have to go with Herbert because, again, he has been playing so well. It's tough to take that away from him. A pizza with 1,000 subscribers. Nice. Miami D or Packers D? I'll go Packers D against that Jaguars front offensive line again in that win game, so it could lead to turnovers. I expect the Packers pass rush has not been there much this year, but against Jacksonville they should have a better pass rush. Let's see here. Nick N asked PPR flex Brandon Cooks, Thielen, or Giovanni Bernard. I guess I'll go Gio there. I don't love Gio this week, but I'll take the guaranteed touches over those guys that are Cooks. Again, that wind, like, legitimately, I checked the weather, so I don't really factor in weather until the day of because, again, we don't really know. But so I went to the Weather Channel. I went to Cleveland, Ohio, and I looked at it, and it's like this big red banner across the site that says high wind advisory, like warning, like very bad. And then you hear it's like up to 60-mile-an-hour gusts, and you're like, okay, that's not going to be great for passing games. So you have to kind of lower everybody down. And I've done that. Thielen, I've already talked about my worries with him against the Bears. And then Giovanni Bernard, I don't like his matchup against the Steelers at all, but he should have a floor. Michael asks, good morning. Good morning. PPR, Drake, McKinnon, or Jamal Williams? So McKinnon is probably the best bet here. I like Jamal Williams for 10 to 12 touches in this game. McKinnon is probably the lead back there in San Francisco. He's involved in the passing game. The Saints have been a brutal defense to start running backs against. I don't love McKinnon this week, but again, he has probably the more guaranteed touches of them. If you want to get frisky and you're like, hey, I'm just searching for upside, dude. Like, I don't really care about the floor. Jamal Williams would be a decent play. Edgar, Devontae Parker, Anthony Miller, or Brandon Cooks. Give me the targets with Parker. I mean, I don't like the matchup against Casey Hayward, but I'll take the targets because with Preston Williams out, they just don't have another wide. Jakeem Grant, is he guys going to steal a whole lot of targets? Not really. Mike Gesicki hasn't connected with Tua. Yeah, I have to go Parker there. Let's see. Jay Greg, half point PPR need a floor. Curtis Samuel, Travis Homer, or Devontae Parker. Needing a floor, I guess I'll go Parker. I don't think the ceiling's massive against Casey Hayward, but I think the floor is there because, again, those targets, they have to go somewhere. Curtis Samuel, there are other options in that offense, and I know he's been rolling as of late, but I'll take Devontae Parker if you're looking for a floor. Polkett, let's see. Flex option, full PPR, Jerry Judy, Sterling Shepard, Melvin Gordon. I'm going to go... This one's, it's either Jerry Judy or Melvin Gordon, and I think I'm going to go Jerry Judy because the Raiders have been weak on the perimeter, and Jerry Judy, if you guys have missed it, over the last couple weeks, he's been a perimeter-based wide receiver, where they have KG Hamler playing the slot. Against Las Vegas, it's a tougher matchup. On the perimeter, it's a good one, so I'm going to go with Jerry Judy with that one. It was close between him and Melvin Gordon, though. Alex asked Chase Edmonds. Okay, there's a lot of players there. We got to move on. Guys, again, 2 or 3 players. That's where we have to go because I have to get to as many questions as I can. James asked 2 flex, have PPR. Antonio Brown, DJ Dallas, and Giovanni Bernard. I'll go with the 2 running backs in that one. Just give me the guaranteed touches. Antonio Brown, if he goes off, great. You have Antonio Brown moving forward. But you could be left down, like you could be left with the performance that you had last week, and that's just really tough to swallow. Giovanni Bernard should have 15 touches. DJ Dallas involved in a high-scoring game. He is in a timeshare with Travis Homer, but he's getting the more valuable touches, so I have Dallas as like my RB25 on the week. Let's see, Brent, good morning. Okay, so Brent, I'm sorry. There's too many players there. Oscar, pick 2. Juju, Antonio Brown, or Rager, full PPR. Juju's definitely one of them. And then it comes down to that, Antonio Brown or Jalen Rager. Both have upside. Both are in the wide receiver. Well, Antonio Brown's like low-end wide receiver 3, whereas Rager is like a high-end wide receiver 4 for me. So I'm going to say Antonio Brown here. They both come with upside. There's risk attached to both of them, but I'll go with Antonio Brown. James Isaac, hey, Tags, hey. Need a running back and a flex, Jerry Judy, Damian Harris, and Gallman. I mean, Damian Harris is actually questionable for the game. They're expecting him to play, but that question mark is enough for me to not play him, especially against the Ravens. It's a tough matchup. Give me Jerry Judy and Wayne Gallman. Frank, pick 2, Godwin, Fournette, or Deante Johnson. Oh. Fournette and Deante Johnson are where I'm going to go here. Again, the Panthers have been much better against wide receivers than people want to give them credit for. They've allowed the 10th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers this year, and now you're looking at a 3-way split between Godwin, between Mike Evans, and Antonio Brown. Gronk is rolling. The running back should have plenty of play in this game. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Fournette and Deante Johnson. It could come back to bite you, and that's the thing. You have to understand. This is why having Godwin, Antonio Brown, or Mike Evans on your roster right now is so problematic, because they're going to cancel each other's upside is basically what's going to happen. Unless you have Tom Brady throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns a week, some of them are going to be letdowns, and that's something that you really can't have happen in the fantasy playoffs. So I guess I'll go with the guaranteed touches from Fournette and then Deante Johnson. Adam Thielen or DJ Moore. I have Thielen ranked higher. This is one where it's like, if you told me that you wanted to start DJ Moore over Adam Thielen, I would not fault you at all. But again, the targets have been so low for DJ Moore that if I knew DJ Moore was getting 7-8 targets in this game, I would rank him as a top 20 play. Whereas Thielen, you know, if you told me he got the same number of targets as DJ Moore, I'd probably be like, I'd probably play DJ Moore. I think it's a better matchup. The Bears have been so good. And even if you go back to last year when the Bears played against Adam Thielen, Thielen walked away with, I think, 2 catches. Yeah, 2 catches for 6 yards on 6 targets. It's basically the same defense with Chicago right now. If anything, Jalen Johnson's probably an upgrade over Prince Amukamara. So it's not a great matchup for Thielen, but DJ Moore, the targets just haven't been there. Let's see. Nate, Tua or Breeze? I'd go Breeze. Again, so New Orleans isn't going to run the ball on San Francisco very well. I expect them to move the ball through the air. Michael Thomas, Kamara, Emmanuel Sanders, whatever. I'll go with Breeze. There's a lot more options for him than Tua. Tua's just not in a great spot right now in terms of what he has available to him. Let's see. Kareem asked thoughts on DJ Dallas today. I mean, he's fine. The reason that you kind of have to like him a little bit more than most is because he has been scoring the touchdowns for Seattle recently, even though he wasn't a timeshare. Again, I highlighted this in the primer, and if for whatever reason I don't get to your question, I am sorry. I'm trying, obviously you guys can tell, I'm trying to get to as many as I can. But if I don't answer your question, the primer, I read it every single week. It's an article that has legitimately like 33,000 words. It's right, 33,701 words this week in it. It has a paragraph on every player from every game. So if you're having a tough time, I highlight a lot of the stuff I talk about in this show. So if you guys wanted to check out the primer, it's out there. But DJ Dallas, someone I talked about in there, saying that last week he shared snaps. Travis Homer actually played more, I think 8 more snaps than DJ Dallas did. But again, DJ Dallas is getting those valuable touches. He is involved in the passing game a lot more than Homer. That game is expected to be a high-scoring one. So I like DJ Dallas as like a low-end RB2, high-end RB3 a guy, but he's not like a high floor option. He's not a guy that you're going to play and be like, oh, I'm for sure getting like 10, 12 PPR points. You can't say that for certain, but I expect that, yeah. Let's see. Alex asked, pick 2, half PPR, Zach Moss, Goddard, Fant. Goddard's one of them for sure. Fant, I'm a little worried about. So his ranking among analysts, I think, is higher than Dallas Goddard. But he re-aggravated his high ankle sprain last week. I know he came back to the game, but he was very not effective. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Fant. I'm probably going to play Zach Moss there just because, again, I would prefer to know that Fant is healthy before I fully trust him. And I know he practiced, but at the same time, he wasn't effective when he came back into the game. How do you re-injure a high ankle sprain and then just play through it? I don't know. It's tough. David asked, Balaj, Brown, Edwards need 2 RB. I'm so lost here. Brown is a very common name. I'm guessing Malcolm Brown and Gus Edwards. David, I'm sorry. This is really tough for me to figure out. If it's a common last name, please put a name there. So I know who you're talking about. It could be Marquise Brown. But you need running back. I would rank them Balaj, Malcolm Brown, Edwards. That's how I'd rank them. How you have them, actually. Casey, wait on Edmonds for afternoon or play Terry and Gibson. I would play Terry and Gibson. I'd play Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson over Edmonds. Yes. Because it sounds like Drake's going to play. Fanta, Drew Lock or Wentz help, guys. All right, so I would go with Carson Wentz here. I have Wentz as a top 10 quarterback. Drew Lock is around QB 15, QB 16 for me. So this one's Wentz for me. Patty Melt help. Flex Chase Edmonds, Tyler Boyd or Claypool and a half PPR. I'll go Tyler Boyd. Claypool has the most upside here, but I'll go Tyler Boyd. I think he's the safest play. Ryan asks McKinnon, Fournette, Bernard, pick one full PPR. I would go Fournette. Andres, half PPR flex, Daryl Henderson versus Seattle or Swift versus Washington. I'll play DeAndre Swift. I don't like either running back this week. Seattle's been really, really good against 1-2 down backs, not allowing a whole lot of production on the ground. Swift against Washington. Washington's been a borderline elite defense. Swift is involved in a 50, 35, 15 timeshare. But I'll go with Swift. I don't feel great about him, but I like him a little bit better than Henderson. Bradley asked PPR, Fant or Ingram. I'll go Evan Ingram. At least I know he's healthy. That's where I'm at with that. I don't think Fant is like a must bench, but if you have two options like that, I'd go Ingram. Edgar, full point PPR, pick 2, Claypool, AB, and Juju. This one's Claypool and Juju for me. Again, Antonio Brown, if he goes off, that sucks because he's not in your lineup, but at the same time, it's cool because you have Antonio Brown back and you're available to play him moving forward. But until we see him actually produce in that offense with those other two wide receivers, it's really difficult to say that you need to play him. The other guys are getting targets. Juju is finally getting targeted like the receiver that we thought he would coming into the year, and Claypool has just been a monster. All right. Kelly asked full PPR, Jamal Williams or Lindsey. I have Lindsey higher. They're both good. They're both in good matchups. We just don't. It seems like the Broncos want to play Phillip Lindsay over Melvin Gordon. The problem is that Phillip Lindsay isn't involved in the passing game a whole lot. Jamal Williams is. In a full point PPR, I might have actually just talked myself out of this because I do in half PPR. I have it Phillip Lindsay at 26. I have Jamal Williams at 28. But knowing Lindsay's not involved in the passing game, I am going to say Jamal Williams. Let's do that. Jamal Williams, rocket. Let's see. Brian Miller asked Drew Lock or Tua Tagovailoa. I would go with Tua slightly. It's not a big gap between those two, but I have Tua a little higher. Kirk or Brandon Ayuk. That's where I talked about moving Christian Kirk up in my rankings, and that's probably the breaking point with me because Brandon Ayuk, I mean, that game, you don't run the ball against the Saints, and he's going to get a lot of targets. I think I'm going to stick with Ayuk there. I'm going to put Christian Kirk right behind him at 28. That's where I think I'm going to land. Let's see here. All right. Jose asks, Allen Robinson or Shepard? Allen Robinson. Like, you're not benching Allen Robinson this week. Mike asks, Mahomes on a bye, Burrow or Goff? Hesitant to give up on Burrow, Rookie of the Year. I like Burrow an awful lot, but, knowing that he's playing Pittsburgh, the team that Yates brought this up on our podcast, and it was something that I understood where he was going with it and why he wanted to say Burrow was a fine streamer, but understand this. The Steelers have not allowed a top 12 quarterback since week 11 of last year. Like, we're talking about basically almost a full season where they haven't allowed a top 12 quarterback performance. So it's a very limited ceiling, and we can't pretend the floor is just massive. So I'm going to go ahead and say that you should play Goff. Fabian asked, hey, Tags, hey, thanks for your streams every week. I wouldn't be here without you guys. So seriously, thank you for showing up. It means a lot. Please pick 2, have PPR. Godwin, T. Higgins, Moss. So Godwin, I would play over T. Higgins. Higgins is fine, but there is a little bit of win there. It does affect his role a little bit, being more of a downfield receiver. And then, so it's Moss or T. Higgins and half PPR. I'll probably take the guaranteed touches with Moss, just eliminate the risk. But Higgins has been so good. I mentioned this in the primer. I said that T. Higgins, if you were to go back to when he entered the starting lineup and then stop basically play when he went into his bye last week, I think he was the wide receiver 9 during that time. So he's been really, really good. It's difficult to move on from him. And I almost want to say him over Moss, but it's really difficult to move on from those guaranteed touches that Moss will get. Brandon, Deshaun or Brady. Yeah, this is where I had to, that was the breaking point in my rankings where I had to figure out. And I ultimately put Brady, I think, 1 spot over Deshaun Watson. I think that's where I wound up. So I think Brady's just a little bit safer. That's all. It's not a great matchup for him, but let me see. Yeah, I have him at 9. I have Watson at 10. Let's see. Alex, pick 2, Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, DJ Moore. So I move Fuller down, but did I move him down far enough? I have Fuller right now at 24. I have Parker, I think, at 26, and I have DJ Moore at 25. I'm just going to tell you my order that I have them on here. So it's like, legitimately, this is not emotion based because it's all very, very, very close. Fuller at 23, DJ Moore at 25, Devontae Parker at 26. That's where I have them right now. Pick 1 full PPR, Chase Edmonds, Mike Davis, or Michael Thomas. Oh, Michael Thomas, dude. And I don't know how you're benching Mike Davis, but, I mean, congrats on your lineup because that's ridiculous. But Michael Thomas, you do not bench him. Patty Mel, again. Flex, Edmonds, Boyd, or Claypool. I think I answered that one already for you. Jorge asked, standard Chark or Judy. I have Chark a little bit higher. A little bit. Michael Lewis asked Devontae Parker or Christian Kirk, PPR. That one I have Devontae Parker slightly higher. Joe asked Deante Johnson or Antonio Brown. I have Deante Johnson ranked higher. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get to as many questions as I can, so I'm going to kind of go into fast answering mode to get to as many as I can. Let's see. Luke, standard flex, DJ Dallas or Mike Williams. I would play DJ Dallas. Give me the guaranteed touches. John asked AB or Duke Johnson at flex, PPR. I would go with Duke Johnson with that wind. I don't love Duke Johnson. I don't think it's a great matchup, but he should receive tons of touches with the win there. Kennedy asked, start Daryl Henderson or Melvin Gordon. That one's really close. I'd probably go Melvin Gordon. The matchup is a lot better for Melvin Gordon than it is Henderson. Eli asked Godwin, Parker, or Ayuk. I have Godwin the highest of them, but they're all in the same exact tier. Dylan, would you play DJ Moore or Sterling Shepard? I would play DJ Moore this week. Shepard is fine, is a decent floor play, but I don't think he has much of a ceiling. Knuckleheaded 5'7". Chark, Claypool, or Deante Johnson. Pick 1 in full PPR. If I had to pick one of them, so it's either Claypool or Deante Johnson. It's just really difficult which one. I guess I'll go with Claypool. Paul, PPR, Gallman or Lindsey. In a PPR, I guess I'll go Gallman. Lindsey in a PPR, he takes a big hit. Jack asked, pick 2, standard scoring, Brandon Ayuk, John Brown, T. Higgins. Thanks, Tags. Brandon Ayuk's 1, and then I guess I have to go T. Higgins as 2. I like John Brown, but it's just, we don't want to let one game against the Seahawks drive our emotions to a point where, we could be disappointed. Lupe asked, flex Chark or Myers? Chark. B Dollar, hey Tags, pick 1, Deante Johnson, Giovanni Bernard, or Justin Jefferson. I would play, it's either Deante Johnson or Giovanni Bernard. If you need a floor, I guess go with Gio. If you're looking for, if you'll sacrifice a little bit of floor in order to get a bigger ceiling, I would probably go with Deante. Chris Patterson, good morning. Full PPR, RB2, Chase Edmonds or McKissick. I have Edmonds a little bit higher because, again, I do expect him to have the lead role in that backfield, even with Kenyon Drake back this week. I think he's going to be somewhat limited, whereas McKissick is the number 2 and is a little bit more reliant on game script. So I will say that Edmonds. Greg asked, Chark or Higgins half-point PPR. I have Chark higher than Higgins this week. Joe M, Balaj, Bernard, Duke Johnson, pick 2. All right, so Duke Johnson is definitely one, and then Giovanni Bernard, because those guys are 100% the number 1 running back in their backfield. We don't know that about the Balaj. We don't want to say that after 1 week, especially now that Troy Pope's back. Rodgers or Goff? I have Rodgers higher. Rodgers his passes cut through wind a little bit better than most. He has a rocket of an arm, but the wind did move him down in my rankings a little bit, but I wouldn't be able to play Jared Goff over him, though. I understand the thought process, though. I do. Jonas, standard scoring, Cooper Kupp, Giovanni Bernard, or Brandon Cooks. Oh, I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp. Yeah, I'm attacking the Rams wide receivers. By the way, I haven't seen a single Robert Woods question, which tells me that you guys are smart. You're playing him everywhere, by the way. I love Robert Woods. Let's see. Paulie P, good morning. PPR, Josh Reynolds, Mike Gesicki, or Danny Amendola. You know what? Let's live life on the edge and go with Josh Reynolds. Kind of like it. Jello, Myers or Lindsey, half PPR. I'll go Lindsey there. Jacoby Myers against Baltimore, it's going to be a lot tougher. And guys, remember when Julian Edelman was like, I don't know, he was a top 10 wide receiver through 2 weeks with Cam Newton, and everybody said, oh, wow, look at this. And then people were dropping him a couple weeks later. I like Jacoby Myers, the player, but we can't pretend that, Cam Newton's going to have a great passing day against the Baltimore Ravens. They're not the Jets. AB, DJ Moore, or Chase Edmonds, half PPR. I'd go Edmonds there. I like DJ Moore, but not more than Chase Edmonds. Kevin Orlowski, pick 2, half PPR. Chark, Swift, or Kirk. All right, so probably take the guaranteed touches with Swift and then go with Chark. That's probably where I'd go. Win for Vin, half PPR, DJ Dallas, Jarvis Landry, or Jamal Williams in flex. We'll go with DJ Dallas. Take our chances there. It's really close, though. It's a good question. Jarvis Landry shouldn't be affected by the wind as much as some other wide receivers like a Will Fuller, for example, because Landry's average depth of target is 5 to 7 yards down the field. Let's see. Paxton, full PPR, Tim Patrick or Nelson Aguilar. I'd go with Tim Patrick. Again, that matchup on the perimeter against the Raiders is better than in the slot. Aguilar, it's just been so up and down in target share. It's just difficult to trust him. Joseph, Jamal Williams, Salvan Ahmed, or DJ Dallas, full PPR. In a full PPR, it's either Jamal Williams or DJ Dallas. I like Jamal Williams. I haven't been shy about sharing that on this show. So in a full point PPR, I might be tempted to play Jamal Williams over DJ Dallas. It's close. Though it's one of those two. Pick your poison. Corey Woodman, greetings from Ireland. Greetings. Need raging upside in a 2-quarterback league. Pick one. Tua, Foles, or Baker, half PPR. Starting Big Ben already. Yeah, it's definitely not going to be Baker for massive upside. Tua, I don't know what the upside is for Foles, though. Foles in the matchup, I expect them to throw the ball against the Vikings a lot. There is going to be a new play calling because Matt Nagy has given that up, so it could change. They could be more of a run focus. There's a lot of question marks there. I suppose you're going to go with Tua. If I knew Nagy was still calling the plays, I would expect 50 pass attempts out of Foles, and I would say he might actually offer more upside because, again, the Vikings secondary is just brutal. But I'll say Tua. Israel, Greg Ward, Kalen Balaj, Alexander Madison, full PPR. Injuries, man. Yeah, they suck. I'd probably take my chances with Balaj. There's a chance that he's the lead back, and that's where I want to go. Greg Ward, I'm really curious to know what happens with Alshon Jeffrey coming back because Jalen Reagor's out there playing the Y. We have, Travis Fulgham out there playing the X, which is typically where Alshon Jeffrey used to play, but they've already said that's Fulgham's job. So Greg Ward should remain in the slot unless they shake things up. I just don't see Alshon Jeffrey playing a whole lot. So yeah, but guys, Dan Harris is going live right now, so make sure you guys check that out. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in, and hit subscribe because then you'll be notified when I go live every Sunday because I do this every week. So thank you guys for showing up as always. I appreciate it. Now go hang out with Dan. Tell him that you appreciate him being there for hour number 2 because seriously, my voice couldn't take it. But thank you guys so much for tuning in for another week, and best of luck in week 10.